analysis side. So without further delay, I want him to introduce yourself to the audience, and that will be great, Mr. Iredia.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Can everybody hear me loud and clear?
Yes, you can enter in the chat and respond to make it lively.
Okay. All right. So my name's Iredia Osadolor, and just a little bit about me. I don't really have much to really say too much about myself, but in terms of just for information's sake, I work in oil and gas company, and I'm a data analyst. I also do data scientist in my job environment. I have been around information system, information technology for quite some time. Getting to 10 years now from IT and data analyst background. I'm a student myself. I'm trying to get my PhD in information technology, and I'm concentrating in cybersecurity. I've gotten my MBA since 2015. I also have a bachelor's degree from University of East London, and my MBA was from Minor State University, US. Then I also have a diploma in information technology as well. I have worked with different organizations and quite a lot of experience from information system, information technology, as well as data analyst. That is about myself.
Thank you, Iredia. That's a very sound profile that where you're still in the learning curve. Happy to hear that you are doing your PhD and you have a solid experience with IT admin. That's great. So let's go into a bit deep dive into your experience. What kind of a job role that you do as a information technology specialist? When I look at your LinkedIn profile, you have vast experience. What were the roles? Because these students and participants here are mostly Bachelor of IT students, and my module also system integration and architecture. So to make it short, myself, what kind of a job role that you do as a system admin? You can elaborate on a few of that.
Well, during my time as a system admin, as well as system analyst, then I was also information technology specialist. It has involved a lot, but I just want to focus on a particular time when I was working for Ward County as an IT specialist. What I was doing was a bunch of things, which means I was touching everything. It wasn't like an organization whereby you have different departments. It was about 6 of us in an organization that we administer about 16 different government departments that reside in almost the same location. So I was doing a lot of everything. So when you talk about networking, I was doing networking, whether it's the physical networking or the programming networking. And also networking also involved our phone system that we were using. So whether it was Avaya, we were using Avaya before, and later we switched to Cisco. So I was also troubleshooting all those aspects. Then I was troubleshooting everything that has to do with the system administrating part of the organizations, whereby we have to look into our servers. We have different servers. We have multiple servers, like a lot of servers, physical servers and virtual servers. So we have to maintain and back up them and do a lot of things. We were doing multiple types of backup as well, whereby we back up using the old ways of backupping in terms of using cartridges, and also backupping online. and as well as having a different location for the backup, just different 3 types of backup that we were doing to ensure that we are able to sustain everything that has to do with the backup. Then I was involved with different application programming and application development. Few times we develop different applications to help our system works better. Then I was also involved with day-to-day activities when you have to do with fixing computers, copiers, as well as even printers. So those were like day-to-day activities, but sometimes we'll have a very big project that we will have to work on. So those were some experience that I can share right now. There's more to it, but because of time, so I'm going to be cutting them short.
I understand, Iredia, you have like so just to touch on a bit on the backup part. Okay, as an IT administrator, so how often they take a backup? What kind of? So if you can give some point on that, that will be great. Backup on the server side.
Okay, so we had 3 types of backup. First of all, how often we back up every day, even weekends we backups. We have the cartridge type that you have to go in there every day and change the cartridge, okay? And we have the exec backup, whereby is a computer-based backup that back up to a visual server, a different visual server. All we need to do is to go to the application and look at the application if it's backupping correctly. If it's not backupping correctly, then we try to work on why is it not backupping correctly. Then we also have a physical location where we have a different server in, whereby we cut off those locations from our network. Because it was a government organization, we have to make sure we secure our network. So we cut off those locations from our network and we still back up to that location. So, but it was every day. That is when we're backing up, which is 24/7.
That's a crucial thing as an IT administrator. You have to take a backup. That's a big job area to learn, even to just a backup. That's good. Thank you. Let's move on to your next part of your career, which is a data analyst. So I can see in your profile you currently working as a senior data analyst. So yes. What kind of role in this you are doing as a senior data analyst? That is my first question. Then I have a few questions followed by that.
Okay. Data analyst is interesting, and my role, first of all, I work with a group of my people. I like working with my team. So everybody in my team, we have specialty. I was very broad in SQL, in SQL, so that was one of the reasons why they actually picked me. I was good in SQL and also application development. So the roles that I play is most of the times I'm the guy that develop applications, which can be regarded as dashboards, So most of the projects that we do in my department, I take care of the project, which is an engineer can come to you or come to the team and say, I have this idea, or I don't know what is going on because of the kind of error that we are getting based on this particular where head. And from that where head, you might have multiple where names. And every day we keep fixing things based on a particular equipment. We don't know if it's the equipment, or we don't know if it's the users, or we don't know if it's just the where head entirely that we are having this problem with. But every day we keep getting a work order to fix this well. What is going on? So from there, we'll take it out from there, like, what are you trying to get to? And from there, we start analyzing what to do about it and how to create a visualization to have a deep dive into that word to know exactly what is going on. In most cases, by the end of the day or by the end of the project, we'll come up with either the equipment or the manufacturer could be the problem. because of maybe the equipment did not meet to the standard, or maybe the wellhead, they are spending too much money on it and they have to reduce the downtime of the production of the well, you know, that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, the end goal is to find a way how we can visualize the raw data to speak to the understanding of the executive people, and they can use it to make their decision or ask more questions about how to fix the problem.
That's great. That's great. Interesting to know that about the data visualization and data analysis part that you are doing. Okay, before I go into my questions, let's go to the audience. Let's see who have a question. Guys, you can ask directly. You can switch on the mic and you can ask. Maybe you can enter in the chat. Don't feel shy. You can ask. This is the right opportunity to interact with the person, those who practice. So you guys are a Bachelor of IT student, you will get a good opportunity to ask about your job scope. Yes, who want to go first? Guys? Okay, who is the one? Yes, there is one on the chat from Mr. Saif. Okay, do you ever find communicating technical problem difficult? How you can communicate technical terms to execute you or a businessman? Iredia, you got the question? I want me to brief you?
Yes, yes, that is one of the major challenges when it comes to being a data scientist or data analyst. Because after you have developed the issue, or even during the process of planning and finding and discovering what is going on and understanding what the user needs, you have to communicate with them using technical terms. But the best way you can do that is not to prove to them that you are so technical, but to make them understand. So which means you have to reduce your technicalities, you know. Also, even the way I'm talking right now, sometimes I try to reduce my technicalities due to my experience, because I don't really have a full understanding of the audience or the capacity of the audience in terms of technical terms. So I try to reduce it to a minimal level that could be understanding. At the same time, they'll be able to get my point across. So the best way is to reduce your technicality for them to understand what you are saying. Because at the end of the day, you are trying to bridge a gap. You're trying to make them understand. You know, you're not trying to prove to anyone that you're so technical, you know, so you try to reduce it as much as you can.
That's good question, Mr. Saif, and they are really explained that you have to go to their term. You have to understand what's their term that they can understand. That's a good one also, Mr. Iredia. So next question, we have a next question. Okay, so the time that they have, they may be having the question in the mind, or maybe want to translate it earlier. Let me go to my question on the data science versus data analyst. So do you have any point in that? How we can differentiate, or maybe is it the same, data scientist versus data analytics? It's the same or different, or maybe anything that you want to insight us on that part?
So it depends on the way people want to look at it, or sometimes in most cases, it depends on the organization culture or structure, which has to do with your job role. So they can call you a data analyst, and you do what data scientists also do. Or they can call you a data scientist and you basically do what data analyst does. There's no major big difference in terms of career-wise, but global standard try to place a difference for both of them. So the way it was is, at the end of the day, their end goal is to be able to use data to convey a message or to use the data to make a better, to give to the organization to make a better decision. You know, that is their end goal. That is the end goal of data analysts, and that is the end goal of data scientists. But in the real terms, one is not big, one is not higher than any of them, are both the same. It's like what I can use is like a bird that flows, a bird of the same feathers flows together, that kind of stuff, you know, whereby they are both the same, they work together. The major difference that people can see, can talk about if they want to differentiate data analysts and data scientists, is data analyst focuses on visualization and building dashboards, while data scientists focuses on research and prediction. So data scientists focuses on predicting data and building modeling system and using it to predict data for the future, while data analyst focuses on building dashboard to actually bring out the best of whatsoever data they have for the organization to understand what is going on and use it to make a better decision for the organization. You know, that is the major difference that I can see. But in some organizations, like where I work, you can be a data analyst and you still predict, you still do prediction system, you still build modeling, depending on any algorithm that you want to use, you still do all those things. Because we do not have data scientists in our organization as a title, we do have data technicians, you know, they do the same thing as the data analysts as well. We do have senior IT analysts. They are the same thing as data analysts as well. So it just depends on the organization, basically.
Thank you, Iredia, on that part. I really take note of the culture you mentioned about organization culture. Sometimes it depends on the organization. They call it data scientists and data analysts. When you go to the data science, they go more towards the finding the problems and all the stages of data science, and they use it. When it comes to data analytics, that more towards the just visualizing and few more things. That's really a very good one. As you say, organization culture really a matter on that, on the role. That's a good one. Thank you. Let's see for the next question. Yeah, next question from Mr. Asif Karim. Which language has more demand in the industry today? Our industry language, which language is better? Yes, I think, say, yeah, you want to take this question?
That is a very good question, by the way. The most prominent or dominant language right now is Python. Okay, Python is one of the best language that you can use for both programming and also for visualization. Okay, then the most popular language is SQL. So you have to be good in SQL, because if you want to be a data scientist, SQL is like the basic level that you have to start with. I started with VB, you know, I started with Visual Basic, but later on Visual Basic was, you know, below the standard these days. So SQL is very good. You should have a foundation of SQL. You should have Python, and R programming is also good, because nowadays people are using R Studio and using R programming for programming. Then there's what we call Iron Python. Iron Python is slightly different from Python. So I think you should go for Python. Python is one of the most dominant. That is what I would recommend.
That's a good one. Yeah, as if okay, sometimes the students have a really which area to work, what to learn. The starting with SQL, that's a place that you can get a more chance to play with the data. That's really a good one. I will say that then knowing few languages will be good for your CV, where some of the companies are now looking at the full stack developer, where they want to have a few experience in other technology as well. That's good. Next, who have a next question? If not, let me ask one question to Ms. Iredia. You would have done lots of project in this 10 years of work experience area. Share with us some interesting project, or maybe some project that you're currently working, whichever that you feel that can be best to share for our student.
Well, so I can share with you from IT perspective project, and also maybe from data scientist perspective project, because they kind of co-mingles. And for IT, there was one project that I developed. Is called building permit management system. It was a digitalized version of building permit system that we had. The building permit system that we had was almost like submit your document, which is like, if you need a permit in the US, if you need to upgrade your house, if you need to extend your land, extend your land, or if you need to build fence in your land, or if you need to add some addition to your house, you have to get permit from the local government, which is the tax equalization's office, and they have to give you that permit before you can actually start. If you're buying a house, if you're building a house, if you're buying a land, you have to get a permit. So there was nowhere they could store those permits other than to have file for them and put some in Access database, and put some in Excel file. So we discussed with the director of tax equalizations, and that project was given to me because I said I can design it, because when we wanted to give it to Accenture and Tyler Technology, the amount of money that they were asking for was just too much, and they were asking for maintenance fee as well that we'll need to be paying every year. So because of that, given the fact that I was working for a local government organization that they don't have a lot of money, before they invest in any project, they have to debate with commissioners and all that. So I took the project. So the challenging part of the project was starting from the feasibility studies down to submitting the project. I'm talking about designing the interface or the GUI, designing the back end, the database, designing the documentation of it, the consultation of it, the configuration of it, to make sure I configure it to each system and make them work. And I was hosting it locally and making sure our network connect to the user and they will be able to use it. Everything was done by me. So because there was no other person from my organization at that time to support in that area, the other person that we had was the director, and he wanted to be the project manager, but he didn't have time. So I was also the project manager. I only get assistance from one of my friends, and I studied with him long ago. So that was the only guy I got assistance for. So, but for the long run, and that my friend wasn't part of the organization. So it was just like, if I'm stuck somewhere, I had to call him. I had to say, hey, how to get past this area, because, I don't do it every day like he was doing. So that was very challenging. And the worst part of it is I was getting to the end of my job with that organization. So I took my job that I currently have, and I was still developing that project. So I was working for like 2 organizations, even though I wasn't getting paid from my previous job, but I have already agreed to take that project. So I ended up completing the project after a month after I left the organization. So that was a very interesting one because, yeah.
That was a great. I'll say that good to hear about it. Especially I like that when you say that project management. Okay, sometime when the undergraduate student or master student, they don't really focus on that part as a project management area. When they're studying a technical subject, I think that would have added value for you, because I know you have very good skill in project management, managing the project. I think that's a great one. We have a question. Thank you already on that part. Let's see. We have one question from Mr. Derek. Okay, what do you want to become? Yes, what do you want to be? Okay, why do you want to become a data analyst? Is because of high demand needed, or any specific goal that you wish to achieve? I think it's why do you
Oh,
got the
yeah.
question.
Yeah. First of all, data analyst is a very high demanding job right now. And the projection is still going to be a demanding job for the next 20 years, So that means that if you get a job right now, data analyst, you're not going to go out of the market in the next 20 years. Okay, so you're still going to continuously have a job. Now, that is just a prediction, and we know it's going to surpass that because data analyst is becoming very, very demanding in the market. Okay, so that was one of the reasons. Two, for me, was a good opportunity. It was a good transition opportunity because I wanted to stop doing everything and focusing on one area of my career, because I was information IT specialist. I was basically doing everything. Now, it is different from different organizations. There are some organizations that as an IT specialist, you only focuses on one area. But in my organization, I was doing a lot of other stuff. So there was no concentration, So I decided I wanted to venture into one aspect of my career in order for me to grow better. So that's the reason. And given the fact that I am rest assured in the next 20 years, before I retire, I will still have a job.
That's good. Yeah, I think with the current smart technologies and smart devices are coming, more and more data are generated. I strongly agree with you. There's going to be a huge demand and for the data analysts. Thank you, Mr. Eric. We have, I think this can be a last. Okay, Mr. Mike, we have a question from him. What we can advise him, those who are going to start internship, maybe they're going to start, some of them are final year students. So what kind of advice you can give them so they can prepare themselves for the industry? Because now you're in the industry, you may have a better idea.
I like that question because I happens to be one of the guys that I kind of break the odd of how students should be able to accomplish their studies, work, have 2 or 3 different jobs, and still be able to do well academically. The advice I will have for someone like Mike is you have to start now going for internship right now. And always remember that you don't necessarily have to start big. You can start small. And when I say you can start small, so long as it's IT related field, you should start from there. You don't necessarily have to have get a job of data analyst before you start. So long as your focus is becoming a data analyst, you can start from whatever job opportunity that you have right now, so long as it's related to IT. Start from there, and from there you start to build your career. So I'll give you an example. Human resources, if they interview someone that just got out of college that has no internship, and someone that have had experience, even though it's 1 year from an IT organization, and they want to place both of you in the same position, they'll probably go with someone that already have 1 year in one organization, so long as it's relating to an IT. So it's best you start from somewhere. Don't wait to have the job that you really want before you actually start. Another thing is you can have job and you still do well in college. So do not hesitate. Don't feel like you won't be able to do well in your college. It's just all about being determined. you know, to be able to do well in your college. And you still have a very young brain, you can definitely do it. And this is the best time for you to go for it.
Thank you, yeah, that's great. So we have okay, yes. Okay, that's good. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mike. Okay, one last question, guys, before they ask. Let me finish my last question. I can see that you have a multiple profile where you work as a student, where you are studying as a student, and you are working, all these things. How do you manage this? Do you have like any specific? Because most of the time, my students say, "We don't have a time. We have to do lots of projects." I agree with them also. Sometimes they have more projects to do. So how do you manage your time to do a multiple role?
Okay, I'll give you an example. When I was getting my master's degree, I had 3 jobs. Yeah, 3 jobs. I was working for one hotel as a night auditor, and I was working for another restaurant in the US, and I was working for my college, my school as well. I was working as a graduate assistant for research, you know, and that does not require too much time from me. All I need to do is to spend about 2 or 3 hours from my computer and do a research based on different papers and submit it to the professor. Okay, so it was not brain demanding. And the night auditor, it was a little bit challenging, but it was the way I could survive because I paid my school fees, my entire school fees, starting from diploma level. Okay, so I don't have to depend on anyone when I was going. Now, some of these people, some of the students that we have here, you guys are lucky. Maybe your dad or your parents or your relatives are paying your school fees. How can you manage your time? It has to do with, first of all, you have a determination. You have to have a clear mind to understand that you can do it. You can do everything so long as you put your mind towards it and know and feel that you can get it done. You have all the time in the world, okay? We have 24 hours. You know, in my case, I was sleeping for 4 hours. I was sleeping for 4 hours every night, whereby I'll come back, I'll get my assignments done, you know, first thing I want to do. So another point I want to point out is one of the ways for you to do well in college while you're working is to make sure you do your assignment ahead of time. So you do your assignment ahead of time compared to other students that they don't work, you know. So anytime there's an assignment, you do it first, you know. So the time, I think my time issue was it was almost like inborn, you know, when it comes to the time. You know, even though I was so determined and agile because this is what I wanted to be, and I was ready to do anything to make it happen because of, I was so scared, I was so afraid of failure, you know, so I was ready to go extra mile to make sure I'm able to graduate and get a better job, you know. So the time, you have to do away with things that are not necessary right now, because at the end of the day, you will have plenty time to do all those things, okay? Anything that you feel like is not necessary, is not adding value to your life in terms of your academic life or your career, you just do away with them. You know, when I was in college, people used to go to club every night, you know, and I don't care. I was in dorm, you know, they will come and, you know, they will be making noise and all that. I'm there trying to study and get my stuff done. Your priorities matters. You know, you have to set your priorities. You know, that's the way I look at the time. The moment you set your priorities, you will carve out time for it.
Thank you, Iredia. That's a really a good point. I still remember how you perform in my modules and other things. Really, to say, I summarize that do ahead of your assignment deadlines and things, and prioritize. That will be a great thing. Thank you, guys. One last question. Anyone have any question? Final.